it begins.
It's showtime.
Hello, this is Leisure Magazine, and today we're going to talk about the evolution of horror movies. Our story begins in the 1920s with the silent film Nosferatu, 1922, a chilling adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. This era set the foundation for horror, with iconic films like Frankenstein, 1931, in the 1930s, introducing the world to cinematic monsters. Carson Timar says, Nosferatu is undoubtedly worth the time needed to check the film out, with still iconic and masterful uses of practical effects and filmmaking techniques to create a visually engaging and haunting experience. The 1940s and 50s saw the golden age of horror, with Universal Studios leading the charge. Dracula, 1931, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954, solidified horror's place in Hollywood, blending gothic elements with thrilling narratives. Critics praised Bela Lugosi's iconic portrayal of Count Dracula. Roger Ebert noted, Lugosi created one of the most enduring images of the vampire, dark, mysterious, and undeniably charismatic. His performance set the standard for future portrayals of the character. The Hollywood Reporter added, Creature from the Black Lagoon is an unusually stimulating science fiction drama with inventive direction and convincing performances. The film's suspenseful plot and innovative creature design captivated audiences. The 1960s brought a shift towards psychological horror, with Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, pioneering this change. The film's infamous shower scene and its exploration of twisted human psyches redefined horror cinema. Stephen Robb from BBC News said, Psycho opened the floodgates for screen violence, paving the way for the slow-motion bloodshed of Bonnie and Clyde and the Wild Bunch in the late 60s, up to today's torture porn of Hostel and the Saw films.
Come on out.
In the 1970s, horror exploded with the slasher genre. Halloween, 1978, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974, introduced relentless killers and high tension, becoming cultural phenomena and spawning countless imitators. Rich Corliss said, Halloween is ferociously Old Testament. It punishes both the heroine exhibitionist and the viewer voyeur. Cinema Whiz said on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the sun rising on an escape would, in lesser films, represent the promise of freedom, a piercing light through the darkness of human degradation that Leatherface and his family represent. A triumph of the human spirit against soulless ghouls. In Chainsaw, though, it is merely a momentary reprieve.
Charles Grady is the winter caretaker. From what I've been told,
The 1980s embraced supernatural and body horror. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, 1980, brought psychological terror and isolation, while John Carpenter's The Thing, 1982, showcased gruesome transformations and paranoia. Poltergeist showed how horror could blend with blockbuster sensibilities, making the supernatural accessible and appealing to mainstream audiences. It paved the way for high-budget horror films. A Nightmare on Elm Street introduced the idea of horror icons with distinct personalities and mythologies, leading to the rise of franchise horror and the enduring popularity of characters like Freddy. The 1980s saw a significant leap in special effects, especially practical effects, which became a hallmark of the genre. This era's innovative techniques are still celebrated and studied in film schools today. These films often blended horror with other genres, such as science fiction, psychological thrillers, and drama, which broadened the appeal of horror and showcased its versatility. The 80s horror films often spawned sequels and franchises, establishing a new business model for horror cinema. Characters like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees became pop culture icons. The themes, styles, and techniques developed during this era continue to influence modern horror filmmakers. Movies like Hereditary and The Babadook owe a debt to the psychological depth and character focus introduced by 80s supernatural horror, while the practical effects and body horror elements can be seen in films like Annihilation and Possessor.
Hello?
Horror took a self-reflective turn in the 1990s with meta-horror films like Scream, 1996, which cleverly deconstructed genre tropes. The Blair Witch Project, 1999, revolutionized horror with its found-footage style, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. The Silence of the Lambs blended psychological thriller elements with horror, winning 5 major Academy Awards, including Best Picture.
you'll do fine. A killer is on the loose.
It introduced a new kind of villain in Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, who became one of the most iconic characters in horror. Hideo Nakata's Japanese horror film The Ring, 1998, became a global phenomenon when it was remade in the US in 2002. It popularized the J-horror genre and showed that non-American horror films could have a significant impact on international audiences. The 2000s to the present day have seen a resurgence of diverse and innovative horror. The Conjuring, 2013, revitalized supernatural horror. Get Out, 2017, masterfully blended social commentary with psychological horror. And Hereditary, 2018, pushed boundaries with its haunting atmosphere and shocking narrative. Get Out uses horror to highlight and critique systemic racism and the subtle, insidious ways it manifests in society. The film explores themes of cultural appropriation, exploitation, and the fetishization of black bodies. Peele has stated that the film is a satire on systematic racism, cleverly weaving horror with real-life social issues.
No. No. No, 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 no.
28 Days Later is a groundbreaking film that redefined the zombie genre with its raw energy and social relevance.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that.
It's the blood. There's something in the blood.
Saw introduced the torture porn subgenre, characterized by extreme violence and psychological horror. It revitalized the horror genre and spawned a successful franchise. Saw is a brutal, relentless film that pushes the boundaries of on-screen violence and psychological terror.
Paul, find the path with a razor wire.
Technically speaking, he's not really a murderer. He never killed anyone.
Dr. Gordon, your aim in this game is to kill Adam. If you do not, then Diana will die.
Into the future, horror will continue to evolve by mirroring society's anxieties and exploring new terrors. It is because of this ability to adapt and surprise that this genre will go on to thrill and spook for many more years. We thank you for joining us on our journey through the evolution of horror. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment below, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses of your favorite genres. And let us know what era of horror movies you like most. This is Leisure Magazine, and we'll be back soon with another episode.